Please welcome Caroline Casey, our great fellow from Ireland.
I'm a founder of a company called Kanchi, and we have a big ambition. We want to reframe disability and release the power and the value of 1 billion people globally who have a disability. So Kanchi's solution is to release the power and the value, because if you value people, then you don't discriminate, then you don't leave them out, then you don't ignore them. And how we see that we can do that is to trip switch a global business movement, it's all about movements today, on inclusive business. It's a kind of really strange idea, because disability is sat in medical, and in charity, and in pity. And what we want to do is create a market-driven model so far away from charity that you can't even imagine. Something that is so beneficial to business that they just can't help but get involved. It is therefore also so beneficial to society. Inclusive business means inclusive society. We want to create the new green. We believe inclusive business is the new green. We're going to take disability from the margins, like green was taken from the tree huggers, and make it mainstream. Make it a competitive advantage. Make it an imperative. Create that market. And how on earth did I get to stand up and talk about the new green? Because it will be. And if our planet is as important to us, so are our people. We just have to frame it in a way that you get that's engaging. First thing, we needed to change the way you think about disability, not give out to you, not, okay, you're bad companies, you're bad government, you're bad people, because you're not. You're not at all. If disability doesn't touch your life, how on earth would you know anything about it, except disability does touch every single one of your lives. Think about it. Every single one of you knows somebody who has a disability when we look at the broadest context of disability. So how could I make it personal? I was thinking, wow, where's business in all of this? I come from a business world. Where was business? I'd never seen business attached to disability, ever. And that, Thomas asked me yesterday, he picked me up from the airport, he was going, where did you have that light bulb moment? Do you know where I had the light bulb moment? I first told him I didn't have it, but I actually was wrong. It was instinctive to me that business was our solution, but the real light bulb moment is when business said, we don't do disability. What do you mean you don't do disability? There are 1 billion people in the world who have 9 trillion disposable income. That's an extraordinary market. And then I realized it's just that disability was not a business issue because it wasn't in the context of a business issue. And that's what we realized in Kanchi. The greatest, most powerful catalyst for change was business, is business, is business. And a multi-stakeholder approach led by business. So we thought if we can change the mindsets and behaviors of business, to see this extraordinary demographic opportunity, a competitive advantage, the new green, then society will naturally follow. And so it was our job to create methodologies and practices that would engage you in a way that you would win, that would affect your bottom line, and that would have a societal impact. And one of our most key critical flagship projects is the Ability Awards program. And essentially, for those of us in business, it's combining an ISO 9, the rigor of an ISO 9000 model, in a best companies to work for competition, to really engage around the economic case for disability, which simply is, we are your consumers, we are your talent, retain us if we acquire disability. You do not know that 85% of people with disabilities acquire in their working lifetime. This is not simply about employment, this is engaging in 5 key critical ways. The Ability Awards program, with this identification process, was identifying 50 companies, best practice, leaders that could be emulated. And we could start creating the movement, proving that what we were talking about works, celebrating success. In 2 years, the Ability Awards program became the most sought after business award scheme in the country after Entrepreneur of the Year Awards. That's saying something. And our sponsor, because how we run the program is it has to have a business sponsor, must have a government sponsor, a media sponsor, a philanthropic sponsor, and a disability sponsor. All at the highest level. Disability is a leadership issue now. Leadership. So it became the O2 Ability Awards. So anyway, we brought the awards to Spain, and we had over 500 entries from the business community. So that gave us a bigger ambition. 10 countries, 5 years, 1,000 ability companies, 10 heads of state. and an international advisory board made up of 18 global business leaders. For the first time, business and disability will sit equally side by side. Co-creation, and what does it mean? Yes, this is a movement, but let's not get too washed away with movements. Movements have to have moments to celebrate, have to have practical examples where they work, and they have to be accessible in a language. So what we've learned in co-creating, or working so strongly, not just with Telefonica, because PricewaterhouseCoopers do all of the assessment stage, we have so many rich disability and business relationships. What we have learned at the key of it is business brings pragmatism that we need, and efficiency and process, and it cuts away all of that stuff that we don't want to look at. But you know what we give to business? We give them magic. We give them magic moments. And you know what? Even the biggest guys in the biggest companies, they want magic moments. Secondly, no matter what you do, no matter what company you need to do, you must have the same value set. Yes, we'll do it differently. We might get into it for different reasons, as Arnaud said, but as long as the value set is exactly the same. The values is key. Thirdly, it is about transactions, Arnaud, but for us, it was about relationships. Business is about relationships. What we do is about relationships. Social entrepreneurs are dealing in humanity. And we need to remember business is humanity as well. And it is the relationships that so deeply exist in those. Fourthly, when we're creating with business, they wanted the biggest goddamn vision possible. Ashoka helped us dream big. And the business world kicked us even higher. If you're going to go create with business, they want serious impact. Let your blue sky be so blue, because it's what we will need to believe in, something earth-shatteringly large. And lastly, the thing that we learned in creating it, it's not a good idea just to only have one. You must be equal in the relationship. And as Telefonica has faced its own huge financial crisis, we found ourselves quite vulnerable, because their crisis affected our progress. And it's important that you become completely equal. And that one eggs in the basket theory is not a good idea. Make sure there are many, many people around you with those relationships that balance it off, ticks and balances. And lastly, as we look into today, the most exciting thing that I believe is each of us, every social entrepreneur you're going to meet here today, and there are so many fabulous, we are the loonies, we are the crazy ones. And yes, we have the passion and the commitment, and often very much the vision, but it can be a desperately lonely place. But our ambitions, because if you put us all together and heard in one line each of our ambitions, they are so enormous. They so desperately need a multi-stakeholder, co-creative business approach to help us scale it. And it requires us all to be deeply dangerous. Dangerous in what we do. And I want to finish on, I was asked a question there, I did some media recently, and somebody said, Casey, this is an impossible concept. It's impossible in your lifetime that business will become inclusive. This movement will take off. I think that's ridiculous. All we need is 1,000 CEOs to believe it's possible. And impossible is an opinion. It is an opinion. And I believe combining the catalytic strength of business and social entrepreneurship, it's an opinion that is simply proved wrong. Thank you.